All right. Good morning. Good morning, everybody. It is Wednesday, November 11th, 11/11. Wednesday, November 11th, 2020. This morning, we're going to talk about what are you going to remember 2024? Man, I was watching a show last night and kind of made me think back through 2020. And I thought it would be something great to share with you guys this morning. Let's get started.
It is ultimately important for you to look at your goals, truly what you want to do in your life, and then look at the people who you spend the most time with in your life and figure out if that lines up.
All right, guys. Good morning to you. Happy Wednesday. I had to look up and make sure. Sometimes on Wednesdays I call it Tuesday, or sometimes on Tuesdays I call it Wednesday. So I had to look up on my computer there and make sure. But good morning to you guys and happy Wednesday to you. It is November 11th, 11/11. Hopefully this is a lucky day for everybody. I know there's a lot of people out there that believe in that whole 11/11 thing, making wishes and having good luck from it and all that stuff. So I hope that happens for you guys today. So good morning to you, Jonathan, Darren, Jared, Angela. Good morning to you, Angela from Ohio. Tammy, good morning, my girl. Always logging in here at 4:30 a.m. on the West Coast. Carla, good morning. Lydia, good morning to you. Dina, good morning. And my beautiful wife, good morning to you, babe. Thank you, everybody, for being here. And so, I really wanted to talk about this because I was watching a show last night. And on that show, they were talking about just all the things that have happened in 2020, and going back through it was a country music awards preview. And they were talking about just all the things that have happened in 2020. And it made me kind of think back through, man. Like, I think that, at this point we're in November, right? So we have kind of taken a lot for granted as far as, what has passed us already. But if you think back through this year, what are you going to remember it for? And it made me think two things. Number one, it's very important from a perspective standpoint to always remember those things that you went through, right? It's those challenges that you face that kind of shape you in the future, right? Those things that you encounter and overcome. It really helps shape you for challenges that you face down the road. The next time something like this happens, we will all be better prepared. Hopefully it never happens again. But if anything ever happens like this again, everybody will be much better prepared. And so I got to thinking about all the things that, we encountered. And, I was telling Eli this morning when he walked into the office, just, some of the emotions that we all experienced throughout that year. And that's kind of what connected me to, what they were talking about on this show. So it was a bunch of country music artists, and they were talking about, just how bad they felt for, all the people that worked in their industry and the city of Nashville and all the things that they encountered as a result of, the pandemic, and then them not being able to tour, them not being able to play their music. They talked about the mental health challenges, some of them faced, as a result. There was a guy on there that had bipolar. He was diagnosed bipolar disorder. And so this situation was a real challenge to him, right? Because he was kind of confined to his house, and he didn't have, a whole lot of his normal outlet. Like he said, he kind of fights his bipolar disorder by just staying busy. And so that was taken away from him. And we were talking about this yesterday a little bit on the Top Contractor Elite call. And, I think that it's really important to kind of revisit those things, revisit those things that have been victories for you this year. Revisit those things that you have learned about yourself. Revisit those things that were challenges that you overcame. And don't ever forget, that's the perspective that you need for growth. That, when we face challenges, that's what helps us grow. And it's not those days that are easy, when everything seems to be going right, that we experience growth. It is those difficult days that help us move forward and give us a better perspective, a more well-rounded perspective, to be able to help those people around us to see the same things that we see, right? To share our perspective and our experiences with others. That's true education, right? That is true learning for people to hear what you have been through. And so I wanted to share a little bit of that with you guys from my perspective of, kind of how things were going and, just how that impacted me, how it impacted our family, how it impacted our business, and then, those people around me, and kind of how we all came together to kind of get through it. So I remember, when this all started hitting the news and you started hearing little, whispers of what was going on, and, that there was this situation going on in China, and there were no cases yet in the United States reporting. And I didn't think much of it. I didn't really pay much attention. I'm not a big watching the news person, as you guys probably know that watch all the time. So I wasn't really paying attention too much to it. Just, ears pinned back, facing forward, running the race, right? And, as it started to become more and more and more in the news cycle, I realized that there was, something coming. And so, I started paying a little bit more attention, trying to figure out, what was going to happen. And it's funny because, people always talk about how there's, there hasn't been a recession, or there hasn't been this, or there hasn't been that. And people kind of predict those things coming, just because over a period of time, there's always something that comes up in the world that kind of sends us in that direction. And so I was thinking to myself, like, man, yeah, maybe that's what's going to happen, and, but I didn't know the magnitude, or, obviously none of us have ever been through anything like this. The last time anything of this, seriousness has happened was 100 years ago. And so I remember when they started canceling, I can't remember what it was. I think it was March Madness and hockey season, basketball season, all that stuff. When they started canceling that stuff, man, I knew that something serious was happening. And so I started paying attention more and more and more, right, to, kind of what was going on. And I knew that something was coming. I knew that, we were going to be in for a year that we weren't originally prepared for. And so as we started to encounter, the shifts, the shutdowns, we're not able to travel. I had, Darren's on here. So Darren and his guys were out on the road performing work. And we were moving them from state to state as there were shutdowns. And so, I was kind of forced to watch the news and see what was going on, we were all trying to keep up with what was going on, so that we were, staying compliant and things like that. So, we were making those shifts. And I remember, having a call with our team and talking about, just kind of what this year was going to be, what the potential of what was going to be dealt to us was going to look like. And the thing that I read back then that I said to the team, I remember reading this and thinking, man, that's an exact description of what this year is likely going to be like. And it said, there's two types of soldiers in the world. Perfect quote for Veterans Day here. Thank you to all the veterans out there. Said there's two types of soldiers in the world. There's soldiers that shoot well at the range, and there's soldiers that shoot well while they're being shot at. And I remember thinking to myself and telling the team, like, we're going to have to be the latter, because we're going to take on some fire this year, right? We're going to take on our own version of damage, right? In some way, we're going to be impacted by this. And so it's going to be our job to come together as a team and to navigate these waters. And so you had things being locked down everywhere, man, people having massive anxiety of what was potentially going to happen. And the thing that I will remember most about 2020 is just how togetherness got us through all of this. And I say that from every angle of my life, from my family, my wife and I communicating, well through it, me trying to give her my perspective, her telling me how she feels, just all the way around, to having the conversation of how we were going to communicate with our children, to our business and the team that we have here at the Pavement Group and everybody that's attached to the other businesses that I'm involved in, to my friends in the circle that we have, and the challenges that everybody went through at different times, right? And for anybody to say that they weren't frightened or anxious or scared or whatever is not true. It's probably not true. I don't know anybody that has told me that there wasn't a point that they were like, oh boy, we're in for a ride here, right? What's going to happen? It's unpredictable. Nobody likes to be in an unpredictable situation. But togetherness is what brought us through it. Togetherness, communication, having a plan, staying calm under pressure, right? Shooting well while you're being shot at. And, when I think back to, years ago and how I would have reacted to this situation probably, several years ago would have been different. And so what I wanted to share with you guys this morning about that is to make sure that every single day you're putting in the work, on yourself, because you never know when something else is going to happen in your life that's going to deal you these kinds of situations. And it doesn't have to be a global pandemic. It can be something specific to your family, something specific to your business, something specific to your own life that deals you a tough situation. And so when you're able to stay calm and think through these situations and realize that everything's going to be all right, no matter what happens, as long as, we wake up tomorrow morning and we're breathing air, man, we've got a shot to make this right, to navigate through it, to make the best of it. And that is, something that I will remember about 2020 forever, is when I looked around me, I would say that, the majority of people were bought into navigating this thing. And, within Top Contractor School, we have a community there of pretty tight knit community of people who are all running their own businesses and having their own challenges. Right. And so we would come together, 3 times a month. We meet and we do training, and we would talk about, how everybody was feeling and the challenges they were dealing with and what people were feeling like in those moments. And it was all over the board, and I got private phone calls of, just people feeling anxious, feeling like, man, I don't know what's going to happen. And again, another thing I remember about 2020 is that ability to have a conversation with somebody and turn a switch at them, that they realize that what they were thinking or what they were reading that was making them feel a certain way, it may not even be real. It may be something you heard somewhere that you internalized, that you started believing, and then that became part of your belief system. This is what's going to happen, and it not being good. And so I encourage you guys to think about that as you work through the rest of this year and you work into next year. There's still going to be some challenges, right? There's still going to be a lot of things that are not the same, not normal, as they say, going into next year. And so I want you to think about that. But the reason I wanted to have this conversation is I think that the lessons we've learned from 2020 is you can navigate this stuff. You can still make it. You can still win. You can still, have a great season, regardless of the circumstances. I've had this conversation with several people over the last few days. And, one of the things that I joked about is we actually, as a company, we built some pretty serious momentum amongst all of this craziness. And, when people were talking to me about how things were going, and I was telling them that, we were having a pretty good year, people were surprised by that. And, I'd read in a book somewhere, and I used this quote. I've probably said it on this show before, but people were talking about, there's a pandemic and a recession. I said, yeah, we just decided not to participate. And I want you guys to think about that and take that lesson with you today. It is your choice whether to participate in anything in this life, whether to participate in negative conversations, whether to participate in listening to the news and allowing that to scare you. to participate in arguments that people want to have with you that you don't have any business being involved in. It is, it's a choice. And so 2020 for me has given me perspective on so many things that I couldn't have possibly had before, because I've never been through something like this. And so when I look back, I have a lot of pride in how we handled things. I learned a lot of lessons along the way of just how to do things, how to respond to things, how to coach people better, how to lead people, during a time of crisis. I learned a lot. I didn't get it all right, but kept trying, kept showing up every day. And, the other thing that we did as a company is we had a call every single morning at 9:00 with every single person in our company. And some days we didn't have much to talk about, but we were together, and that togetherness got us through. It got us to a point where things started to change. You could feel a little bit, of momentum building, and we were together fighting this thing. And so never go it alone, right? Never go it alone. Make sure you got a team. Make sure you got people around you. Make sure you have good friends. Make sure you have, family support. And you can do anything you want. So when you think about 2020, I want you to think about that today. What will you remember? What are the things you're most proud of? What are maybe some of the things that you wish you would have done better? Take those lessons and use them as the perspective that will drive you to make better decisions in the future. If we don't pay attention, or we're afraid to face those challenges or failures that we had, then we won't learn from them, right? And when we don't learn, we tend to repeat things, don't we? So I want you guys to think about that today. What will you remember about 2020? Because for me, it is not, there will not be a negative memory of this year. Be a very, very positive memory for a variety of reasons. For the results that we had, for the things that I learned, for the closeness that we grew in my family as a result of this, right? We spent a lot more time with our families. Those are the things that I will remember. So I want you guys to think about that today and think about what you will remember. And keep in mind that it's November 11th. You still got a month and a half and a couple days more than that to go. So whatever it is that maybe you have in your mind that's bothering you about 2020, you still got a month and a half to fix that. So think about that. Let that process today. And I hope that it gives you some perspective. I hope that, this year will be one that gives you the same memory that it's given me, which is, an incredible memory. Zach Watkins, congratulations, man. A new nephew, a new niece, a wife, a new sister-in-law. That's a busy year, brother. That's a busy year. And you guys were humping it out in the field, watching you guys crush it all year. So it's awesome, man. And Darren, yeah, man, we're all nervous, right? We got people traveling, and do we keep people traveling? Do we keep them at home? What do we do? You got to balance, right? The fear and the risk over life, and how do you move forward? And it's tough decisions. Just looking at the comments here. Judd, good morning to you, brother. Mike Lazewski, good morning, man. From New Jersey. Brandon Wilson, good morning to you, man. Marvin, good morning to you, man. Happy to see you here, brother. Scott Crawford, Mark Forelli, John Rugg, good morning to you guys too. Thank you guys for being here. I hope this gave you some perspective today to start your Wednesday. I hope that it'll make you think about 2020. And for those of you guys in the paving business, I'm going to reach out to a few of you guys, because I got a plan here of how to do something that's going to kind of, make people think about 2020 in our business and give it a minute to kind of process what did this season really do for us, and how did everybody handle this season, and what was it really like? So stay tuned for that. But happy Wednesday to you guys. I hope you have an awesome day, and I will see you tomorrow morning, same place, same time, right here on Morning Perspective. Love you guys.